Today, let's talk about AI and the GMAT. It's 2026, and pretty much everyone seems to be using a lot of AI. I'll speak for myself and say that I am more than inundated with AI content and relatedly clickbait headlines to the point that it is truly annoying. There's a lot of fear-based marketing involved because fear does sell things for better or for worse. And it's been brought to my attention that many of you are using AI to prepare for the GMAT, which makes sense and definitely can be super helpful. But it can also be super dangerous, like using AI for a lot of things in its current state. And so we figured it would be a good time to get you a set of solid recommendations that you can use to capitalize on the great things about modern AI and avoid the biggest mistakes that we're seeing a lot of people make right now. Just to be clear, this is not a general lesson regarding AI. I am going to specifically focus on the value and the pitfalls for GMAT prep. And I'm going to ignore basically everything else, including how to use it at work and how to use it in your personal life. While a lot of what I'm going to discuss here probably can help you use AI in general, that's not going to be the focus of this episode. Before we dive in, I do want to acknowledge a few things. Number one, some of you may dislike AI a lot, and that's super understandable. So I want to begin by saying that using AI is absolutely not required for your GMAT preparation. And also want to remind you that many people have gotten great GMAT scores the old-fashioned way, like I did, before AI was widely available. So if you're thinking that AI is the last thing that I want in my GMAT prep right now, then that's actually no problem at all. You might pick up some useful tips from this episode if you want them, but again, it's not required, and just feel free to skip to the next episode if you would like. And it's definitely not, I just want to go on record as saying, like, AI does not give you a significant enough competitive advantage in the current GMAT landscape that someone using AI for their study is going to outcompete you. That's super, super, super unlikely. We'll keep you updated if that changes. But for now, if you're like, I hate AI, I don't want anything to do with AI, I want to do my prep the old-fashioned way, then like basically that's safe. And that might be one of the most important points that we make all day here. So that's the first thing I want to acknowledge. The second thing that I want to acknowledge is that some of you might be giant AI power users. And so you might have really, really strong opinions about this stuff. You might have really strong opinions about certain providers, the quirks of different models, all that stuff. And that's great. I personally think it's a good thing that there are more and more AI providers entering the space and making their products available. And I think disagreement and debate about what's best is healthy for all of us. So hopefully we can learn from each other, and we definitely welcome your feedback at any time. You can reach us via DM at the GMAT Strategy on current social channels, or you can email us at contact@thegmatstrategy.com, contact@thegmatstrategy.com. With that being said, I'm going to gloss over a lot of details, and I'm going to oversimplify some concepts because, again, I'm here to help you with the GMAT. I'm not here to develop your technical understanding of computer science. If you're interested in the inner workings of some of this stuff, I encourage you to just do your own research. I believe everything that we've compiled here will stand up to scrutiny, but sometimes we do make mistakes. And again, we invite your feedback on all of this so that we can continue to grow as well if we are, in fact, incorrect about any of this stuff. Third and final thing that I want to acknowledge: there is currently a lot of fear around AI taking jobs, especially white-collar pre-MBA and post-MBA jobs, and that's really understandable. And there's plenty of evidence that can show that AI companies are actively trying to replace certain jobs, maybe even yours or mine. While that is for sure scary for many of us, whatever is happening is definitely happening, and it's happening pretty fast. So I think the best thing that we can do as a community is discuss it, look at the available facts, and make the best determinations that we can based on those facts. So with that being said, I haven't committed to this yet, we'll see what kind of timeline we're on here today, but I may briefly share my take on the current situation in workforce development and AI, but I'm going to wait until the end of the episode for that. so you can skip it if you're not interested. So I'm going to lead with the tactics that I think the largest number of you will find useful. And then I'm gradually going to move to topics that I think a more narrow segment of you might find interesting. And so you can feel free to just ignore all that if you want to. And that's super understandable. I will not take it personally, trust me. With all that being said, let's begin. Based on the data available to us right now, most people who use AI use a free version of it. Now, it's worth noting that the MBA applicant pool disproportionately represents people who pay for premium AI or have access to premium AI through work, meaning AI you have to pay money to access. So I'll have plenty of recommendations for you if you're in that group with premium access, but I'm going to start with the free providers and advice for that, since that is currently still the majority of you right now. Before we get into the weeds on free AI versus paid AI specifics, let's discuss a couple points that are going to apply to using AI in general, whether free or paid, and that'll help you get the most out of the rest of the lesson. So the number one idea for us to explore when using AI is data quality. No AI is currently intelligent enough to overcome bad source data. Again, that might change. We will update you if and when that changes, but that is the current state of the art. The way current AI is trained is pretty complicated, but to give you a sense of what's happening under the surface that I think you will find usable and that I'll reference throughout the lesson because it is very relevant to your GMAT prep, let's just distill that complexity down to the following. The AI basically reads all the text on the internet and then looks at what comes up most often. It'll then get a little bit of feedback from some human experts, and at that point, it starts to perform probability calculations based on the data it has access to. What it tries to do is pick a sequence of words and ideas that fits the middle of a distribution of likely and unlikely probabilities. So what you're getting is basically an average of all ideas on the internet. Again, that's a gross oversimplification, but it'll help you understand some of the points that I'm going to make later without us getting too caught up in the technical details here. So why is that helpful to know? Well, extreme views tend to be filtered out. That isn't true 100% of the time because of the human feedback part, but it is true in the vast majority of cases. So advice that you're getting from AI is basically whatever appears most on the web. That's a little scary if you think about it. And that's because the web is an open system. It's permissionless. Basically, anyone can publish 10 years of blog articles overnight and all of a sudden get a lot of attention from AI in a certain domain simply because it shows up a lot. As we all know, showing up a lot is a potential proxy for truth, but it in no way always represents the truth. And as we also all know, many times the most honest, accurate voices on a topic are drowned out by a very loud and incorrect majority. So, we should go into using this technology in its current state with a healthy degree of skepticism. I think that's super important because we're used to trusting computers. This is a different kind of computer built mainly on top of probability, like I already discussed. So the data quality that it's referencing is exceptionally important. But it's also exceptionally important that you understand what it's feeding back to you, even if the data quality is high, so you can make accurate judgments based on what it says, because ultimately that is going to be your job. If that is not your job already, in your MBA program and after your MBA program, your job is pretty much going to be making accurate judgments. That is going to be your role. Now, you may have noticed that basically every AI provider has a major disclaimer on essentially every page, which is something to the effect that AI can make mistakes and that you should check important information. So that's not always important to do when you're asking the AI to tell you a joke or something just for entertainment, right? Like the whole move fast and break things makes sense when you're building a social media platform. But does move fast and break things make sense in healthcare? Does move fast and break things make sense in education? I'm not here to tell you my perspective on that. You can make up your own mind about that. In contrast to the joke telling piece, when you're asking for guidance on one of the largest investments you're likely to make in your entire lifetime, aka graduate school, that is very important. So we want to be able to know what we can trust and what we should be skeptical of. Here are a few guidelines for making those determinations, and then we'll backfill this into how you can leverage this with some specific tactics when it comes to study time, your study sessions, and how to manage that workflow. But we tried to write this episode a few times, a few different ways to get around this like long preamble, and it just didn't make sense without it. So I apologize. This is the lesser of all the evils that we tested. So again, a couple guidelines on data quality. First, be skeptical of anything it tells you when the source is based on the entire internet. Most AI has access to web search tools, and it likes to use tools. It's programmed to use tools as often as possible so that it makes fewer mistakes. This is in its current form. If you're not careful, you can get a confident sounding incorrect answer either because of a mistake in the probability calculation, because even computers can make mistakes, or it's looking at the wrong data and it's representing that wrong data very accurately. So there's a couple pitfalls there. It's also worth noting that AI brains are remarkably similar to human brains. The technology behind modern AI is actually based on human brains, how human brains are constructed. And almost all AI is programmed to be lazy, which means take the least expensive route to a reasonable answer rather than extend significant effort to get an answer that might be 20% more right or 30% more right. So it's rarely going to search the entire internet the way you and I would. Instead, it'll start with whatever text it has immediate access to, and then it'll prioritize text-based sources for the web search. And that's because video is a lot harder for current AI to understand. Google Gemini being the one notable exception to that, because that model is video native. Yeah, let's gloss over the whole individual provider thing for a second, but just on average, the modern AI is going to prioritize text-based searching, even though you as a person might have a bias for video searching or audio searching or something like that. The AI is going to search text first, and it's going to try to provide you a fast and mostly accurate answer based on that text. So I'm going to go into more depth later about how you can override that default and get the most out of the AI, again, when you're studying. And I'm also going to talk about why that's so important and so helpful. But just for now, I want you to have a healthy skepticism, and I want you to do your best to verify AI outputs with credible sources to the maximum extent that you can. And again, I just want to emphasize that that's what you want to do when the stakes are high. If you're just chatting or just asking it to make up a fun game for you to play with your buddies or something, that's totally different than having it give you advice about the entire future of your career. So that's the first note on data quality and probability calculation, and like why understanding how these things work and search and think is valuable to you. The second point to make there is that you really want to include high quality data in your AI requests as often as you can. Like we just went over, AI is going to use a probability calculation based on the data it has access to. If you provide no data, then you're just getting average internet advice. But if you include high quality information in your request, then the AI is actually pretty good at giving you better than average responses. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tactics on that a little bit later, but this is just kind of broad strokes. Actually, let's just get into the tactics now. First tactic, put a lot of effort into explaining the full context of your situation when making requests. Take the time to type out the situation that you're in, the stakes, like what you can lose or gain depending on success or failure, what the main trade-offs are, like how much time you can devote to your studying versus how much time that's going to take away from other key commitments, and include what information you currently have, your past data, your past goals, your current goals. Basically, a good framework here is try to get to as close to the ideal as you can of what you would explain to a person who you wanted help from. Think about it. Like you would try to give that person as much information as you could without overloading them with too much information. Like you probably strike that balance regularly in your day-to-day job. It's what a lot of business people do. And also think about like it would be super weird if you gave really generic guidelines that didn't really apply to your exact situation and then expected like a really penetrating and insightful answer from another human. So while we do need to be a little careful about how we humanize AI, and I don't want to put too many of my personal beliefs on the situation. We just need to be a little careful about it. The way AI works, like treating it in a conversation the way you would treat another person actually can have value. So I'm going to try to help you figure out how to use that well and when it's kind of irrelevant. So distilling all that, the quality of what we get out from AI roughly equals the quality of what we put into it. Again, gross oversimplification, but like packageable, memorable, usable, helpful. So definitely help yourself out by putting a good amount of effort into explaining the situation that you're in well, again, as you hopefully would to another person who you wanted help from. Yeah, so just extending that analogy to a workplace situation. How would you feel at work if someone asked you for a report and then provided you no data, made you search the whole internet for days, trying to figure out what high and low quality sources are? That kind of situation would be really tough. But if they cleaned and validated the data for you, triple checked it for you, give it to you in a well formatted spreadsheet, and then explain exactly what they want you to do with that data, it's probably going to be a lot easier for you to provide a good product to them. So you want to become that kind of person. It's going to help you for the rest of your career, becoming the type of person who can explain things well and provide the proper context for other humans. And it's not always easy to set other people up for success. It takes effort, but it is great leadership, and that's what we really need in the world. So let's at least start by being great leaders to our little AI tools here. Try to set a good example. Okay, so final points here. Include as much data as you can. Modern AI can read spreadsheets, it can read screenshots, it can read text files, it can even read raw data like SQL or code if you're on that level of understanding of computers. And it can process that data pretty fast, a lot faster than most people could. So feel free to provide official score reports to the AI, practice exam data, analytics from platforms you've engaged with, and even links to specific questions you're struggling with. That way you can capitalize on the AI's ability to web search instead of like having the web search take you on a wild goose chase, which is definitely a bad experience that a lot of us have probably had with these tools. So just pinning this down, the clearer context the AI has on your situation, the easier it's going to be for it to provide you with good guidance. If you simply default to the internet as a source, you're just asking who the most prolific marketers are, basically, and what they think. It would be kind of like only clicking on paid Google Ads results from your Google searches. It would be like, I'm never clicking on something that was not paid for. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because being a great marketer doesn't necessarily make you wrong, but it does not necessarily make you right either. So the point is that you want to be an informed user of this technology. It's not about using it or not using it. It's about using it well, if you are going to choose to use it. So you just want to know that that's what you're getting back and how the machine works under the surface, enough to know how much you're willing to trust it in certain situations. So hopefully you understand the importance of data quality. Again, we're going to jump into some tactics in a minute. And also, hopefully I've given you some ways to help the AI help you better by providing it with high quality data. And that alone is going to go a long way toward helping you use AI well, even if you end up skipping all the tactics that we're about to go through. So yeah, this is really, really important if you want the AI to be an asset for you instead of a liability. Okay, so the first general point is data quality. We just talked about that a lot. The second general point is called managing the context window. For those of you who use a lot of AI, this is going to be really familiar, but for those of you just starting out and wanting to experiment, besides data quality, the most important thing to be aware of when using current AI in your GMAT prep is what's called the context window. The context window is kind of like the AI's short-term memory. You could think about AI's long-term memory as basically like the whole internet up to about a year ago. Because these scaled out models take so long to train and develop, and like the human feedback part is really time intensive. Usually they have a knowledge cutoff where they like stopped searching the internet like 6 to 12 months in the past. Now, the fact that they can search the web helps them get that up to the minute information for you, but that up to the minute information goes into the short term memory, what's called the context window. And the real key to understanding how to manage the context window is understanding that it's limited. It has a limit. So just like the short term memory of a person has a limit, we can usually only hold about 7 things in our working memory at any given time. If you overload a person with too much facts at once, it gets hard for them to reply to you. Modern AI works very similarly. So your data that you're feeding into the AI also fills up the context window, and your previous conversation in the current chat also fills up the context window. So again, the context window of all modern AI is limited. And if you fill up the context window too much, the AI is going to start giving really bad answers because it's going to get confused about what's still important currently, what's not important, and maybe it can even like forget some of the important aspects of the discussion up until the point that you're at. So context management is a key skill for using AI well. If you can use it in a way that it helps you, then you'll be happy. And if you do not use to learn to use it well, then it can be really, really frustrating. There's a tension between the context window and data quality. That's why I'm bringing those up. So not enough context gives you bad results. That's why I led off with data quality first. That's probably the biggest mistake I see people making. But too much context and the AI is going to start making mistakes, and it's going to lose track of what's key to the discussion. So in my experience, if you use AI enough, most of us develop this kind of weird feel for what the context window fullness feels like, and we can kind of feel when it's getting a little full and we need to start a new session. It's kind of interesting, actually. It's almost like feeling out a person's capacity. But if you are just starting out, take note of when the AI starts to get confused, when it starts to make mistakes, when it forgets key information, and just remember to start a new session when that happens. That's kind of like the super, super simplified punchline. I'm going to give you some more tactical advice in a minute on free versus paid, but that's like the 1-bit punchline for all you nerds out there. So combining this advice with my previous advice about data and context, it's a good idea to have the initial session context able to be copy and pasted into a new chat when you can tell that the context window is getting full. So this can be a little bit frustrating when you need to do it a lot, but I was telling you, like, have your backstory, have your recent practice test data, have your goals, objectives, things that have been frustrating to you in the process, like have all of that loaded into the chat so that the AI understands and can advise you well. But if you have to load the context window a lot, it can be really annoying to re-put all that in there. So try to have it copy and pastable somewhere on your computer so you can quickly reload it when you start a new session. Usually the benefits of doing that outweigh the costs. So it's worth understanding and just keeping it in mind as you go further down the path here. These limitations and problems, there's a lot of really smart people spending a lot of money trying to solve these things. So it's highly likely it'll get solved. It's just really, really hard to know when it's going to get solved. And because most of you are on pretty tight timelines with GMAT prep and wanting to get great results here and get into a great MBA program, I don't want you waiting for months and months on the next model release just to like get some good help from these tools. So you may need to experiment with your preferred AI tools or a variety of AI tools in order to figure out what the proper balance of enough data versus too much for the context window is. But as you experiment, you'll improve and you'll get better at getting what you want out of the tech. Okay, so again, super long preamble there, but I just felt that we could not make the rest of the episode make sense and really hit without that. So hopefully that wasn't terrible. Now that you understand data quality and context windows, we're ready to talk about free versus paid AI and the tactics that you're going to want to use for both. So let's start with free. There are a lot of free ways to use modern AI. For any super nerds here, when I say AI, I'm referring to any software based on deep learning technology, just so you know. By the numbers, most consumers use ChatGPT. But Gemini, Claude, Grok, Perplexity, a bunch of open source providers. They're all gaining significant market share recently, especially as the market expands. So, yeah. What is interesting to note about the variety of providers is I have found by testing basically all of them extensively, most free AI performs about the same for GMAT prep. So you might have some personal preferences, and that's cool. But as an expert who's helped like a truly mind-blowing number of people through this process, I find it to be roughly equivalent. So that greatly simplifies the discussion on what to use. I'm going to lump all free AI into one category. And so while there might be some variances here and there, like I talked about that, my recommendation should hold up for all providers for at least, let's say, the next 3 months, hopefully 9 months. This is probably going to be a big year of change for AI. It already has been. It's March right now. Sorry, it's April. We're at the end of Q1, beginning of Q2, 2026. And yeah, we're definitely on an exponential curve with this stuff. But I tried to make my advice hold up for as long as possible, so we're not just publishing AI episodes every week. But if there are significant shifts that are worth mentioning, we're not going to record a whole episode just for every significant AI shift. That's going back to what I was saying at the top of the episode. That's counterproductive. If there's anything that's actually going to affect your GMAT prep, then just check the feed and there'll be a new episode that has AI in the title. But if we have not made a new episode yet, then you can trust that all of this stuff is totally current. So what is free AI good at? How do we use it well? Free AI can generate simple foundational skills practice questions, but it is not good at simulating real GMAT questions. These are both super, super important points. First, if you need work on basic square root manipulation or basic exponent rules or basic long division, free AI can be really, really helpful with that. But free AI in general is terrible, terrible at complex math, and it should be fact-checked on any math at all. And I'll give you some tools for that in a sec. So basically just use a calculator to verify all the simple math outputs. So while you'll want to use it with caution, this is one of the use cases that I found can be really helpful. So if you've identified that you're not feeling super good about your basic math skills, like basic algebra manipulation, long multiplication, long division with decimals, a lot of stuff that's covered in our GMAT Math Basics series, then free AI can be a great drill generator. It can be a great real-time tutor for those basic math type situations. So I encourage you to use it for that, but use a calculator to check all the answers. However, please do not use free AI to try to simulate real GMAT problems. I've noticed a lot of models are programmed to be super eager to help you out. So they'll often follow up a simple math drill with, want me to construct some questions that are more similar to the exam and also test these basic rules? Like it sounds so good the way it says it. It's like, yes, Mr. or Mrs. AI, I really want that. Obviously, it would be amazing if free AI could do this. We'll keep you updated if and when it ever hits. Maybe we're going to get there, but for now, it's really, really bad at that. It is so, so comically bad. But the problem is it's really tough to tell that as a student. You probably don't have the level of experience that an expert who's seen a million GMAT questions would have. So it's really hard for you to gauge that. So please don't use it for trying to simulate actual GMAT problems. Simple drills are the absolute ceiling for free AI right now. Even simple drills sometimes have mistakes. So again, proceed with caution and check your simple drill set answers with a calculator. If you need a lot of help diagnosing your math mistakes on actual practice questions and you can't afford a skilled tutor, then consider a paid AI. I'll get to those in a moment and how to use paid AI well. But for now, free AI math explanations can make things harder for you. So instead, I'm going to recommend that if you're struggling with actual GMAT problems or like actual problems from your practice test, I would not recommend free AI for trying to help you understand those. I would instead just recommend web searching the question. This is true for quant and DI right now. DI, that includes math, let's say. And just use the forums or YouTube. There's a lot of great humans out there who over the years have made like really good explanations on these forums and on YouTube for you. And you should tap into their goodwill. Like these are really well-meaning, really intelligent, really hardworking people. And yeah, strongly recommend against using free AI to help you diagnose math problems. Again, it usually causes more harm than good. But if it's a basic math concept that's generally known, such as like square root rules or exponent rules, you're probably safe. But if you're like, wait, how does this GMAT question work? What should I learn from this GMAT question? That's when you're getting into the real danger zone. And you want to just hit abort, do a good old fashioned web search, and find a good old fashioned human post to help you out. Okay, so that's point number one of free AI. Sucks at math. Free AI is actually pretty good at helping you diagnose and work through verbal questions. We're going to, again, just gloss over the whole technical aspect of that, but because most modern free AI is trained on words, text, it's pretty good actually with the text-based stuff. Not so good with the math-based stuff. I coincidentally have found that most verbal explanations on forums, in contrast to what I was recommending for math problems, most verbal explanations on forums and YouTube are pretty bad. There are a lot of reasons for this, but those reasons are not really important right now. The verbal explanations in the official guide are actually pretty good. They're very usable, but they do lack context on how to integrate them into like a coherent process. And that's where AI can start to help you out a little bit. It can spot trends over time in your verbal. It can analyze your existing verbal data set. More on that in a second. And it can act in some ways like kind of like a digital human expert would. It's still a simulation. It's still going to fail sometimes. And there's some safeguards you can implement. But just, again, keeping things high level, you can definitely use free AI productively to help you analyze GMAT level verbal questions. But make sure you have an official answer for each question. In fact, I'd highly recommend telling the AI what the answer to the question is before you input the question itself. It will still sometimes get things wrong, but not nearly as often as with math. So again, it's still useful, but you do want to check it with the official answer on every single question that you're practicing or that you're getting quote unquote tutoring from with a free AI. Having said all that, this is truly an incredible moment in human history. Like, this is the closest we have gotten to a free, universally accessible, personalized, 24/7 available GMAT verbal tutor for everyone. So yes, it has some major limitations. We've still got a long way to go. But if you are not anti-AI, you should definitely give it a shot. And it'll probably help. It'll probably help. Having said that, it will definitely not be more effective than taking a program with an expert who's designed an effective framework and tested that framework with many learners. This has to do with markets and how markets work. But basically, when you're a giant platform player like these modern AI companies basically have to be in order to generate this technology, then you basically give up specificity. Like you generalize. So I know this is a deep conversation that has like a lot of aspects to it. Let's not get into that there. But let's just say like their approach is the antithesis of being like a deep, narrow human expert. And it's even getting away from the whole human thing, like even a digital self-paced course where there's no human contact involved would usually still be significantly better at giving you the proper framework for GMAT verbal than an AI is going to be. But it is free. It is free. So again, might not be the best solution out there, but it's definitely better than nothing for most people. And I think if you continue to follow the advice that I've given so far and give you now, then I think you will be happy with the results. Final point with free AI here. It's actually pretty good at helping you identify what topics to focus on next, but it is not good at telling you how to improve those topics. So let's really dig into that because there's a lot of nuance here. The way it can help you focus on what to do next is if you're using a spreadsheet to track your progress, for example, you can just feed that directly into the chat and get help identifying your problem areas. This is useful because most analytics tools are a little generic and they're a little overly complicated. And the chat interface can help you understand what the highest leverage areas are to work on a little bit easier. It's basically like you can talk to your data. But you still need to analyze the questions and be honest with yourself. So, for example, let's say the AI flags exponents at a certain difficulty level for you and says like, hey, this seems like it's bottlenecking you. I've seen a lot of AI generated chats where that's kind of the output. And it's like, okay, that's useful. Maybe as a human, I wouldn't have seen that looking at a really giant data set. So that part's good. That's how it could help you figure out what to work on next. But how it is the way it is not good at telling you how to improve is it doesn't know why you're missing those exponents questions. So are you missing exponents questions because you don't know the material well enough? That's a big problem. Are you missing exponents questions because you have bad execution habits? Maybe you know the material super well, but it's hard for you to execute under pressure. Maybe it's just time pressure in general. Maybe the reason you are seeing low accuracy rates with exponents is they're frequently showing up at the end of the section when you're running out of time. Free AI won't usually be able to help much with that. So you want to use it to identify your focus areas or help you identify your focus areas. And then you want to do your own analysis of those areas, like actually look at the questions and try to resolve them and see if you can figure out what is the actual reason you're missing them. And that's going to help you figure out how to work on the right topic in the right way. And you definitely want both if you want efficiency. You want to be working on the right thing and you want to be working on it in the right way. We've actually already discussed, like at obscene length, how to fix content versus execution versus timing errors in past episodes. So please check out our episode called What to Do If Your GMAT Score Goes Down. It's not just a framework for what to do when your GMAT score goes down, although it is an excellent framework for that, and you want to prevent that for sure. But it's also actually a really good framework for general improvement. So we'll have that linked in the description for you below. Tying this all up with free AI. If you combine some AI analysis with a good framework for improvement, that should really help you improve faster. It'll help you understand verbal questions. It can help create some basic math drills for you if you need those, and it can help you analyze your existing data set to figure out what you need to focus on. I think I just said that twice. Team, can we get that fixed, please? But it is bad at more advanced math. It's bad at understanding why you're missing questions, and it will sometimes get things wrong. So avoid using it for generating problems that simulate the GMAT. Don't do that with free AI. Make sure you analyze the questions in the areas it identifies and develop your own opinion of why you're struggling with those topics. Don't just think, oh, okay, I got to do a lot of exponents questions because the AI flagged it. Don't do that. That's a good way to waste a lot of time. And then make sure to have official answers to questions in order to check that the AI is telling you the right thing. If you do all those things, you can get a lot of value out of free AI, and then you will not try to use it for the things that is going to cost you a lot of time and energy and like hurt your morale. Okay. Let's briefly circle back on the context window concept and nail down some specifics here. So for most free AI, the context window is about 16,000 tokens. And you can think of tokens kind of like words. They're kind of like the words that modern AI use to think and communicate internally. The technical side of tokens just really doesn't matter for this discussion or for your GMAT prep. So don't worry about that. Just think about it as words. 16,000 tokens is usually good for a decent amount of background data. So we'll try to ground this. Like, what does that actually mean? You can usually input your current situation, what you've done so far, what your known gaps are, and what your score goals are. And then on top of that, you can usually get like 1 to 3 good question explanations, like if you're going through some verbal. And then once you start going past that amount of information, you'll probably start to notice that the context window gets saturated and the AI is going to start to feel a lot dumber. So if you're going to use free AI, plan to start a new chat every few questions at the least. Ideally, every single question. You reload your background context and then ask the next question. If you're doing a data analysis with a bunch of practice exams and Excel data, then you're probably going to want to limit it to, at the maximum, the 3 most recent exams. I would actually probably go for 2. The 2 to 3 months of most recent data, or whatever you feel is representative of your skill set currently. So you're going to have to limit it. You're going to have to chunk it down for the AI because it's not going to know what's really important with the free AI. With the paid AI, it has enough of a context window that it can start to generalize on like, oh, this is 6 months ago versus this is last month. It's definitely impressive. But try to avoid throwing your whole study history at a free AI. That's usually going to backfire. It's going to overload the context window, short circuit everything, and you're probably just going to get really frustrated. And at the worst, it's going to tell you something wrong very convincingly, which we don't want. So just plan to refresh the chat every 1 to 3 topics or every 1 to 3 questions, and you should be able to get a lot of value out of free AI that way. So that's pretty much everything I think you're going to want to know. If you have questions or suggestions, like I said, reach out anytime at the GMAT strategy on current social channels. If you like to DM, contact at thegmatstrategy.com if you like to email. There is so much more we could say about free AI, everybody, but I wanted to keep the balance here of like what's useful and just cut out everything that's not useful, not like super useful, just so you can focus on the right stuff. So hopefully we've done a good job there. Again, we welcome your feedback. Please let us know if this is helping you. Let's talk about paid AI. Unsurprisingly, paid AI can save you time. Just like most paid resources in the GMAT space can save you time versus free options. It's not a guarantee that it's going to save you time, but it's likely to save you time. If paid GMAT resources didn't add value to the study process, then there would be no way to sustain them, and everyone would just use free resources. And obviously, that's not happening. So I want to be super clear. You do not need to pay for anything in the GMAT prep process. You can definitely do it all for free. You can do it all for free without free AI. You can do it all for free with free AI. It's completely your decision. But if you have the means to make a financial investment, that can help you progress faster and easier. That's what you're buying. Most education works this way for most people. I think we all need to think about how we can get education to work better for everybody. That's part of the reason we're here right now. And there are always exceptions to every rule, but I think just that's worth being honest with each other about. So if you want a full breakdown of the types of programs that are available to you on this path, free and paid, along with my recommendations for what's best for you, depending on your situation, specifically related to the GMAT industry. So not AI at all, just talking to you about free versus paid GMAT prep programs. Just check out our How to Start Your GMAT Studies in 2026 episode, and we'll link that for you below also. A couple notes on dollar amounts for paid AI. If you can afford to invest more than $100 in this process, you're probably going to get way more value out of putting that towards some high quality GMAT study materials than you're going to get by investing in $100 worth of AI tools. I mean, it really does not compare right now. Even the most premium AI tools, like it doesn't hold up to a well-structured program. Even a just okay structured program, honestly, is going to be better than paid AI. But if you had only $100 or less, a little bit of paid AI can be really, really, really helpful. So I think that's kind of the threshold where, like, if you're going to invest more than 100, just get a good GMAT prep program. If you're going to invest less than 100, then some paid AI can be a good middle ground. Interestingly, most paid AI in our test performs remarkably similar to comparable competitors. It's almost like they're just all the same thing underneath the hood with just like a little bit of different branding. So you can usually pick the format and the voice that you like best. The most popular paid platforms are still ChatGPT on the consumer side, Claude on the enterprise side. You've got Grok, Gemini, Perplexity, all these different brands. It's totally up to you. Just pick what you like. Again, wide variety of taste preferences out there. I'm just not going to get into all that. If you have enough capital, it is okay to invest in a paid AI product and a paid GMAT product. I just don't want you dropping $200 on paid AI and thinking that's going to be better than $200 on a good GMAT program. It's not. But under 100, it's like makes a lot of sense. But if you can combine them, that's also great. They can complement each other well. I'm going to describe how you can use them together if you're in a position to take advantage of that. But again, not necessary and definitely unhelpful if you use it the wrong way. Okay, so here are some ways to use free, paid AI well. With paid AI, you get access to a few things that you usually do not get with free AI. One of them, and the most important one by far, is called extended thinking. Basically, the AI is going to take more time to check that it's providing you with a good response before it starts actually printing its reply to the user interface. So here's the deal. If you have paid AI, always turn on extended thinking. Always have it on. when you're doing GMAT study. It makes it way better at math. It makes it way better at problem simulation. I mean, it's like night and day. It can be a little annoying to figure out how to do this, though, because technically it's more expensive for the companies that provide you this service for you to have extended thinking turned on. So what's interesting is they usually don't charge you a premium over your regular paid subscription to use the extended thinking feature. So they bury it behind a few menus. So like not too many people just have it on all the time. But here's what I recommend. Just web search how to turn on extended thinking with provider, fill in your preferred provider's name, and you should be able to figure it out. So this is going to really help you understand math concepts that are challenging for you, as well as make it like way, way easier to work through forum posts from other people who think about math differently than you. So if you're really struggling with math, but you cannot afford to invest more than $100 in this, then some paid AI is going to be like a lifesaver for you. Again, it's not essential, but it's super valuable. Like we were saying before, free AI is just so bad at math, and it's probably not worth getting into the details of why, but with extended thinking turned on, AI is actually pretty good at math. And that's because math requires reasoning, which free AI models are generally not set up to do. Like I said, it's expensive for the providers to have the AI think a lot. Now, if you're used to the instant responses of non-reasoning AI, this can be a big adjustment with the whole extended thinking thing because each reply is going to take a lot longer to produce. So you just be sitting there waiting, like watching the wheel turn. But at least it is going to tell you the right thing. And in my experience, that's way faster long term than just getting a quick response because we're feeling impatient or something like that. So getting the right information is hugely, hugely, hugely important in this process. And there's so much disinformation out there. It's just crazy. So I think you'll find that the reasoning waiting time thing is just way, way better than simply reading and absorbing forum posts. That's my current take for most of you. But it's no problem to use them together. For example, I often advise people to take a confusing forum post that they're having trouble understanding into an AI with extended thinking turned on if they have access to paid AI, so that they can have a discussion with the AI about the recommendation in the post. This is a really, really good way to get things cleared up if you're confused or if you're just curious, like what's the underlying math behind this. The extended thinking will really help you out with that. Quick note here. Unfortunately, some GMAT platforms that have integrated AI, which is like it's becoming a big thing right now, they don't allow you to turn on extended thinking with their native AI. So if you're in one of those programs where they have like an AI assistant as part of the program, you'll have to do a little bit of diligence to figure out how accurate the platform AI is. If you're paying a monthly subscription for a platform, they need to control their AI costs. So they usually won't be providing you with the quote unquote maximum thinking available or the frontier capabilities of math AI, since that's going to be really expensive for them. It's going to cut into their margins. Doesn't mean that you should avoid native AI in your GMAT platform. It can be great for analyzing your existing data set if they have that hooked up. Like if it can look at your analytics from the platform and help you reason on them, that can be really cool. And it can help you figure out what to focus on, just like free AI can. But just treat it as something that's kind of between free AI and premium general AI products, and that should help you check it for accuracy more often. It's a situation where you may find that having a paid AI like general product like ChatGPT along with your course can actually be helpful because they each have different strengths. So it's just a little early in the token cost game to know what's what behind the scenes. And unfortunately, it's not in private GMAT companies' best interest to like publish what kind of AI they use publicly. And so there's not a lot of transparency around that right now, but based on what I've tested, it's definitely getting better over time, but it's not at the frontier. That's been my experience. So summarizing, paid AI can save you time because, sorry, this episode was so complicated. I'm doing like a lot more scripting than I usually do. To summarize all that, paid AI can save you time because with extended thinking turned on, it's a lot more capable math tutor rather than free AI, which is only pretty good at verbal and pretty bad at math. Okay, so that's the punchline with extended thinking. That's the first benefit of paid AI. Huge benefit. Second benefit, paid AI is a lot better at data analysis. We already discussed how free AI can help you analyze complex data sets, and in general, it's pretty good at it. But you'll probably find that paid AI is better. It's going to spend more time analyzing. Again, make sure you always have extended thinking turned on for GMAT study. You can turn it off for casual chats or for jokes with your buddies, but make sure to re-enable it for GMAT. And it's generally going to surface much better insights from the data that you give it. It can usually process images, so you can take screenshots of your data. You can even integrate it with spreadsheets you're using to track your GMAT progress in real time, which can be kind of fun for some of you. For example, you can grant access to certain documents through integrations with paid AI. They're called like connectors. You can web search how to set up data connectors with your preferred provider. You can connect it to things like Google Sheets. You can connect it to your Microsoft OneDrive. You can connect it to a bunch of data sources, and you can choose which data sources within there that it has access to. And that means your AI can have real-time updates on your progress if you want it to. You can even have it surface insights automatically if you set up something called scheduled tasks. Again, just web search how to set up scheduled tasks with my AI provider. And that's basically like times of the day when the AI is going to look at the data and perform whatever instructions you want. So for instance, you can have it survey your previous study sessions data every morning at 6 a.m. and compile a brief on your progress and current focus areas. You can have it include a motivational quote if you want. These companies are working really hard to try to make it like a helpful digital human assistant type feeling. Generally, the limit is your creativity, but I wouldn't get sucked into over optimizing that because that's probably not going to make you a lot better at the GMAT. But just giving you some ideas about how you can get creative with it if you want to get into the whole automation thing. This is a place where data analysis, that is, and like setting up these jobs for you and like compiling real-time data over time. This is where paid AI's larger context window can be really, really helpful. Basically, paid AI products provide a context window that's about 12 to 60 times larger than the free AI context. Okay, so we're talking about like 200,000 tokens to like 1 million tokens versus 16,000 on the free AI. That means you can fill a lot more data in each session, and that makes it a lot more likely that you're going to get the insights that would be difficult to generate on your own. 16,000 tokens worth of data, like a human could get through that fairly easily. It might take a little bit of time, but 200,000 tokens or 1 million tokens worth of data, like most humans are going to start short-circuiting about halfway through. So it's not critical, again. But part of the reason I brought up how to manage the context window with free AI is so that you can get the most out of that, but also get the most out of the larger context window of paid AI, because this is a situation where you could like put your whole study history into a paid AI product and you're going to get some pretty solid insights, and you'll be able to have a longer discussion about those insights, and it'll help you clarify things well. Now, it still cannot tell you why you missed the question. So you'll still have to do that work yourself. You'll still have to figure out if it's a content gap. You'll still have to figure out if it's a timing issue. You'll still have to figure out whether it's missing questions you know how to do. The AI can't really watch you do a problem right now and like coach you on it in real time. But it can still be helpful, and it can process a lot more data in a lot less time than you and I can. And so that can sometimes help you get some nice insights. So that's all I'm saying there is the large context window is helpful. To ground the larger context window, if we think like 3 problems is the limit for a free AI, if we multiply that by 12 on average, then maybe 30 problems would be the limit for a paid AI. After that, you're going to want to refresh the session. Okay, so similar to that, related to that, my final point on paid AI here is you get extended usage limits and you get additional features that free AI often doesn't have. This is things like deep research features, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we already were just starting to talk about the larger context window. So let's just expand on the additional features piece. So the context window of paid AI, again, much larger than free AI. So you can have much longer discussions. You can throw a lot more data at it, like I was talking about. And it's going to like mess up less often, basically. But again, always have that extended thinking turned on, and always refresh the chat when you can feel the AI getting a little dumber. That can actually save you a little bit of time, especially when it's over the course of like lots of weeks and months, because you're not constantly refreshing the chat and reloading it every 1 to 3 questions, and then having to recopy the context back in. That can get annoying. It can get intensive. Some AI products even have features where you can just preload context into what's called like a project or a certain type of session, like a folder. And then all the chats that you start within that session will have that context. That's a nice way that you can get around it. Most free AI doesn't have that yet. If you're unsure whether you need this, just start with the free AI and then see if you can get a free trial or maybe try a month of the premium version and then see if it makes enough of a difference for you that the larger context is worth paying for. We're all going to have different investment philosophies on that, and that's totally fine. So that's just a little bit more about the large context window. Higher usage limits. This is a little different. Some free AI has usage limits, and if you chat too much with it, it's just going to be like, "You're done for the day. We'll refresh your access in 24 hours, or we'll refresh your access in a week," something like that. So if you find yourself running up against those usage limits during your free AI sessions, meaning you're using the AI enough and finding it valuable enough that the free account starts to limit your access, that's another reason paid AI can be beneficial. That might be kind of obvious, but it's worth mentioning. You get more total credits for longer discussions more often. Again, just usually the way to go there is try some free AI first, see if that's even a thing for you. Some other premium features that are worth noting. Deep research. I mentioned this before. This is where the AI is going to spend like 30 minutes or 45 minutes collecting all the data it can find from any sources that you give it. You can have it access the internet for this, but it's usually going to be better if you give it like knowledge-based access to your stuff, like spreadsheets, PDFs of your official score reports. If you do want some links in there, you'll have to enable web access, but you can tell the AI to like not prioritize web, and to prioritize the information that's in your drive or in your report or whatever that you generated from your platform. So you can use a little bit more careful prompting for these long horizon tasks because the AI can get a little confused and then that can compound over the course of 30 minutes. So again, just try to have this frame of being thoughtful as if you were giving instructions to a junior teammate at work. Someone who doesn't know the domain quite as well as you. And another good hack that I've found is just ask the AI before you kick off a long task, do you have any questions for me before launching the task? Just like you would with a human. Give the AI the opportunity to clarify with you, and that usually produces really positive results. It's a simple thing. It's easy to forget when working with people as well, actually. But like I was saying before, AI brains are like remarkably similar in function to human brains. And so we, in some ways, want to treat them the way that we would treat a person, at least when giving directions. So, like I said, when it comes to the other aspects of humanizing AI, I personally don't have super strong opinions on that. To me, it's just really cleverly designed software, and I treat it that way. But other people have different beliefs, and that's totally cool. I'm not saying I'm right about that or that you should believe that. The main point that I want to make here is just start managing your AI as you would manage a junior person on your team. That's going to help you give you the right frame to like ask good questions. Do you have any questions for me before going off and doing this long task that you could easily mess up if you don't have the right understanding? Like, what else can we discuss? What's unclear to you? And then just giving it the right amount of context so it can do a good job for you. So this is like rehashing a lot of stuff we've already talked about, but it's so important if you're going to go down this path that it's just worth mentioning over and over again. So that's it. That, I think, is the right amount of information to apply AI to your GMAT prep. You've got a good breakdown of what free's good at, what it's bad at, what paid's good at, what it's bad at, what you need to do if you're going to be working with the AI to get the most value out of it. And you also know that you do not need AI. It's not some clickbaity, fear-based, like someone using AI for GMAT prep's going to beat you. That's probably not true, everybody. Like, it is probably not. It's really a very personal thing when it comes to your learning right now. The workplace discussion and the professional discussion is totally separate. Like I said, we're just not going to touch on that at all. We're just going to focus on GMAT today and helping all of you, since that's the purpose of this pod. And yeah, ultimately, it's up to you whether you decide to pay for AI in your prep. If you need a lot of help with math, but you can't afford a top-tier human expert, paid AI is a really great way to fill in some of the gaps between internet learning and a top expert. It's usually a lot less expensive. And while it hasn't caught up with top human experts in terms of the guidance that it could give, it's still amazingly helpful. And it's also available 24/7. And a lot of times, even when I'm working with clients directly these days, we'll sometimes include a very personalized AI strategy as part of their prep process, as long as they're okay with using it, obviously. But yeah, you got to go with your own beliefs. And I think the most important message that I think is not not being pushed in the AI community right now, or the sort of AI narrative, is like, it's a lot of fear-based. You're going to fall behind if you don't use it. Got to adopt it faster than the next person, kind of thing. And let's just not even go down that path in terms of the incentives there. And let's not even call it good or bad. Let's just call it is what it is. When it comes to getting great GMAT results with AI, that's a totally different thing than how you might be using it at work or in your personal life. Okay. So, a lot more we could discuss. A lot more we could discuss. So if you have thoughts or feedback, let us know. Again, we worked really, really hard, came up with multiple revisions and versions of this, stress tested them, red teamed them internally. This is the one that won out. And so I have a feeling it's not perfect. I apologize for that. Perfection is always my goal, but as a person, it's difficult to achieve that. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I have a feeling that today was one of those days where we did not achieve perfection, but I still think it's going to be super valuable for you. So we figured it would be better to get it into your hands than not at this point. Because again, I've seen some people just get into some real bad death loops with AI, and then they give up. And like, that's the main reason that we started TGS in the first place. This is a really tough task for a lot of people. Yes, a small percentage of you are going to breeze through the GMAT, and that's awesome. Good for you. It's amazing. Most people are going to struggle a lot more than the ads and the forum posts and the social media posts would have you believe. And so I just want you to know it's okay if you're struggling. Struggling is allowed. Just don't give yourself the option of giving up if this is important enough to you. If you don't really care about the MBA, okay, you should have the option of giving up on the table. But if you really care about this, if this is really important for you to achieve your dreams, if it's going to be a big success multiplier for you, however you define success, then do it. Okay. And don't worry if it's difficult. It was super difficult for me. If you want to hear more about my story, we've got a video on the website where I briefly touch on the depths of despair that I went to in my GMAT prep. And obviously things worked out in terms of the GMAT for me, and they can work out for you too, but it might be a bumpy road. There might be more setbacks than desired, and that's okay. That's okay. It's really not that big of a deal as long as you get where you want to go eventually. Okay. So just want to re-emphasize that using AI in your GMAT prep is not required. Many of you will get faster results without AI, but because I have spoken with so many people who are using AI in a way that is hurting their prep, I figured this would be a helpful stopgap for all of us. So let's see what kind of time we have here. Let's pause there. I have a feeling this episode's long enough. If any of you want my personal thoughts on like AI and the MBA, or like whether it's still a good idea to keep going down this path, maybe just send us a note and maybe we can get you a blog post or something like that. If we get enough requests for that, then we'll link that blog post below. I really don't think it's worth another pod. But if you're really worried about it and you want my take on it, I have done a lot of research on it, dug into a lot of classical economic theory, a lot of historical examples. You're all welcome to do that research on your own as well. You might be a lot more educated than I am about that stuff. But let's just pause here and keep it focused on how to use AI well in the GMAT prep process, and we'll not worry about the whole like narrative of taking jobs. The short version of that is it's pretty unlikely. Like the quick version is like, it definitely could happen. Like we need to be open to that possibility if we're being honest. But historically, like in preparation for this episode, I dug into some interesting data in the finance industry, including insurance. And in 1990, when the computer revolution was really taking off, which is probably the most comparable technological revolution to AI, is the personal computer. When the computer was taking off and being adopted heavily in the 90s, and has obviously reached scale today, like what business does not use computers now? People were really scared that it was going to delete a lot of jobs. And total headcount in finance in 1990 was about 5 million workers. Today, it is about 7 million workers. So about a 35% gain in total headcount in the finance industry, evolving alongside computers. And net pay is also increased. So I couldn't find 1990s data on finance industry average pay, but 2006 was as far back as we could find. And in inflation adjusted dollars, so like today's dollars, you'd be making about $40 an hour on average in finance and insurance in 2006. Today, in 2026, you're making about $50 an hour on average. Again, inflation adjusted, CPI adjusted there. So a nice 20-ish% gain, a little over 20% gain in your wages with computers and technology and the internet penetrating the workforce. So highly likely AI is going to go the same way. It's a deeply problematic and unanticipatable thing, and there's a lot of people with vested interests in telling us that this time it's different. But like when ATMs got instituted in banks, everyone thought there were going to be fewer teller jobs. There's more teller jobs. When AI hit radiology, everyone thought there would be fewer radiology jobs. There's actually more radiology jobs now because it's cheaper to provide the radiology scans, so more people get them and the demand goes up. Same thing in computer programming right now, if you can believe that, actually, even with a lot of the code generation capabilities of AI. I can't remember the exact dates oh yeah, in 2022, basically before ChatGPT came out, there were 1.5 million software developers working in the US today after massive AI adoption. There are 1.67 million software engineering jobs happening right now, people working in software engineering. So again, net increase. Is that going to continue? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. You don't know either. Our job here is not to perfectly predict the future. Our job is to make reasonable investments. And I thought some of that data might be helpful to some of you who might be a little worried. So it's up to you to decide whether learning the skills that you would learn in an MBA are going to be a net gain for you. But just kind of quickly touching on that, you'll learn how to be a better resource allocator. You'll learn how to be a better decision maker. You'll learn better management skills. Current AI agent tech responds to a lot of the same management philosophies that humans do. It's kind of really interesting research coming out of Ethan Mollick's practice. He's a professor at Wharton. Really, really interesting guy. He's got a great blog called One Useful Thing. Blogs heavily about AI. Highly recommend checking that out. He's got a really interesting book called Co-Intelligence, if you want to go super deep down his path. But just great guy, really transparent about how he's using AI and using it in the classroom. Wharton's been a big adopter of AI. So yeah, great material there if you want some technical perspective on it. And then also you're going to learn better people skills and you're going to build relationships with really high value professionals in an MBA program. So is a human network going to go up or down in value as AI gets better? Again, difficult question to answer. A lot of potential answers there. But I think if we make historical analogies, it does seem like market expansion is the likely outcome because people are just going to be able to do more stuff with AI, which means they're going to want to do more stuff, which means they're going to want to expand their business, which might mean decreased prices or increased prices for consumers, but it'll basically generally, if history repeats itself, lead to more accessible products. And so, maybe we're going to have our local gas station owner commissioning a McKinsey study soon enough. We'll see. It's kind of been out of reach for the local gas station population, for the past several thousand years. But, maybe this is the year where McKinsey's agent force is going to, make that a thing. So what does that mean? That means you'll probably have more need for humans because as digital goods and digital intelligence becomes the abundant resource in the economy, what becomes the scarce resource? Human intelligence and things that only humans can do and provide to other humans. Human-to-human service being the most obvious thing that will just never be disrupted by AI 100% because the fact that it's another human and not an AI is the value generator. So I think we can probably be satisfied that that's not going to happen, but it could be an incredible simulator, super intelligence that's smarter than any person who's ever lived. Maybe that's going to give way better service and maybe everybody's going to want to do business with the 100% AI company. I don't know. But just in terms of strategic planning, I think that is unlikely over the next 10 years. And after that, who knows? Those are just my thoughts. None of this is investment advice. None of it's financial advice. Always do your own research. Always look up your own economic data if you have questions about mine. But that's the super, super condensed version of how I'm seeing this play out. So again, if you have thoughts or feedback, let me know. If that was unhelpful, I apologize. And if that was helpful, then I'm really glad that you stuck around and heard it. So as always, my greatest hope is that this material will make your studies as easy and as painless as they can possibly be. If you want more strategies for optimizing your performance on the exam, just head to our website, thegmatstrategy.com, and check out our free video on how you can reach your dream GMAT score much, much faster. In the meantime, this is a regular show, so if you like it, please subscribe. And at the least, please stay positive and stay consistent with your studies, everybody. Talk to you all soon.